Hello everyone. This week we will be looking at Mudbox. I know some of you have brought your milestone projects into Mudbox, but this week we really want to just look at the tools and we're doing a practice exercise. So you'll be using kind of one of these basic pieces that are already made and sculpting on top of it to get used to using the tools and get comfortable navigating around in Mudbox. There are some additional videos that are posted in this week's module section that go over all of these brushes, but I'm going to just do a basic kind of covering all of what Mudbox has to offer intro. So I'm going to just take this basic head. Feel free to do whatever shape you would like. It's really great to study muscles in Mudbox, or if you have ZBrush, any sort of sculpting tool, take a look at how intricate muscles actually can be, and you can see if you can create that in Mudbox. But for basics, you can practice doing whatever you want. Have fun with it and get creative. Luckily, in Mudbox, the navigation in the viewport is the exact same as Maya. So we've got command left mouse to rotate around, middle mouse to pan, left mouse to zoom. And I said that reverse. So left, rotate, middle, pan, right, zoom. You should all be pretty familiar with that, so that shouldn't be any sort of issue. Now with your model, you're going to want to be able to see the wireframe, and to toggle that on and off, you're going to hit W on your keyboard. You can see this is a pretty low poly model. There's still, a decent amount, and I'll show you where to see what you're actually dealing with in a second. But you can also notice the edge loops that we have. So when you actually get to dealing with characters, you're going to notice that loops become very important, and they generally follow the muscle structure. But other than that, it looks pretty much like the models you have been creating. So if you right mouse click, you have some options. You can select your model. Many of these things we'll be using later when we actually get to materials, so don't worry too much about those yet. But we can see over here we've got our layers, object list, and viewport filters. For this, we're going to look in your object list, and you can see basic head, and you can see the mesh here. Now we have 2002 faces on this mesh, and we haven't done any sort of subdivisions to this mesh at all. To actually do a subdivision, you're going to want to hit Shift and D, as in divide. And you'll notice in our object list over here, we've got our basic head, and it now has two levels. We have our level 1 and our base mesh. Now, this added quite a few. We have now 8,008. Let me deselect so you can see. So you can really see how we added all these details in between. Now, you don't want to get too crazy with just adding subdivisions. That is a fast way to crash your computer. We do use them though when you want to get those very tiny details. So make sure it's necessary that you do that. So for example, I'm going to go to my mesh, and you can also do page up and page down if you're on a Windows computer. For a Mac, it's the function FN button and then up or down with your arrow keys. And you can see we can toggle between our base level 0 and our level 1. This says highest here because I haven't done any additional subdivisions. So I'm going to go down to my base. If you look down here, these are where your sculpting tools are, aka your brushes. So I'm just going to grab the base brush, and if you hold your mouse over it, it's actually pretty cool. It tells you what the brush does. So I have my sculpt brush here. If I want to change the size or the strength of this brush, you can look over here, and we also have a mirror function. Or you can hold B, as in brush, on your keyboard. I'm holding it down, and then you can click and drag to adjust the size. It's just kind of nice to see a visual. You can toggle it over here, but you can actually see the size instead of reading it as a number. And then for the strength, it's M. I know it's not S for strength, it's M for magnitude. So if you hold M on your keyboard and then click and drag, you can see that little line moving to show the strength of the brush. Our base sculpting brush just pulls, clay. I like to think of this just as if we were sculpting with our hands and dealing with clay. It's pulling the clay out. It's not adding anything to it. It's just taking what's already there and pulling. While you have your main sculpt tool selected, you can hold Shift, and if you paint over that, that becomes a smoothing brush. So you don't have to necessarily go over to the smooth. You can hold Shift, and it'll smooth everything out. You can also hold Control, and it'll push the clay inward. And then I can smooth it out again if I don't like that. Now, the reason we subdivide, I'm just going to sculpt a piece up here. You can see we've got this piece here. If I go to my highest level, I can actually build upon that. So maybe if I want to bring a section of it down, I can. So we can see what that looks like, and then if I go down to my base mesh, you see that I lose a lot of that detail. I'll just toggle back and forth so you can take a look real quick. All right. So it's this fine line of how many levels of subdivision do I need to accomplish what I'm going for, or am I just adding it, to get some detail that maybe isn't necessary. So you want to keep it as low poly as possible, but make sure that you're able to get the detail that you would like. As always, to undo, Control or Command Z. And then you can take a look at a bunch of the different brushes here. Again, there are videos in the learning module about all of the different brushes. And this is just kind of a quick look at Mudbox. Starting next week, we'll actually bring in your milestone projects to model and sculpt with those. And this week, don't forget your discussion board is the group discussion board, so it's located in a little bit of a different section. You have to go through the learning module, and then you're broken into groups of 4. So make sure that your project is posted so that you can critique others. And again, when focusing on critique, make sure that you're giving suggestions for improvement, asking questions about what they did and why, what is working well, and how can you incorporate that with the entire model. All right, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know, and if not, I look forward to seeing your practice models.